what else can you do regarding flows? Here we'll talk a bit about money. And I will give you a very controversial piece of advice, which is spend the money that you don't have. Now, obviously, you need to be quite self-conscious and aware to follow this advice properly, because otherwise you just go into the store and buy that Chanel bag or whatever you have been craving about and just waste all of your money for stupid shit. But you know what I'm talking about when we reach the end of this advice. Your life, as you already explored time and time again, is about the signals that you give to yourself. Money you cannot eat, you cannot drink, it's just a resource that you can trade for other resources. But since you can buy a lot of things with money, including things like you can reduce stress in your life, but let's say hiring an assistant to deal with some of the stressful things for you. You can do a lot of things with money that are not just material. You can buy really good experiences like traveling or doing some interesting extreme stuff. And even if it's just about the freedom that money brings, the freedom to get lost on the forest on a Thursday just because you feel like it during work hours. So actually money is very important, and the flow of money in your life gives you signals. And because there will be some trend in your life, you either become more financially unsustainable and more free in time in regards to money and finance, or the opposite. So you're either progressing financially or regressing. Let's hope you're progressing. The challenge is not just how to progress, but how to progress faster, how to accumulate more money with less effort, and then this money you can turn into freedom, and then this freedom you can turn into anything. So accumulating more money with less effort, less work is just your scaling up in life financially. And how do you do the scaling up? Well, some people try to scale up by taking big risks. Let's say they found a startup, they say I'll be the next Google, the next Facebook. And this is really a hard way to scale up. The easiest way to scale up is always one step at a time, but one step at a time can be once a day, a few times a day. You try to earn more money from the same things. You try everything. You try a better product, better service. You try to increase your prices. You try to attract more customers. There are a quite finite number of ways to earn more money. And money is actually quite easy to earn. You create value and you turn it into money. This value might be just connecting people as someone who sells or someone who trades resources. It doesn't have to be actually producing something of value. Creating value is not the same as producing value. You can create value in a ton of different ways. Sometimes you can, as we saw in the procrastination examples, you can create value by destroying something. There are endless ways to create value, and you just need to find some value that's easy to create and then turn it into money. And turning it into money is sometimes unintuitively the hardest part, because you say, well, if you have value, there are 8 billion people on earth, like someone will give you money for the value. Well, yes and no, because you may not be able to find these specific people or businesses that will give you the money for the value you created. And I have had several times in my life where I create a good product or service, but it's not easy to advertise. I had a service targeting new business owners, but it was a cheap service. And how do you find new business owners? So it's like the only way to do it is just mass spam, like going to trade registries in all countries and try to extract data and then spam the hell out of anyone with emails and cold calls. So not really my way of doing stuff. It's a grinder way. It's not a smart way. And if you wanted to sell something to existing business owners of a type, it would be really much easier. But the new business owner, they don't even have a website. They don't have anything. And a lot of the new companies created, they won't actually be businesses. They're just created for convenience or tax reasons. So just spanning all companies, it's not really effective. So yeah, there are cases where the turning value into money part is hard. Finding value part is easier, because there are billions of different ways to create value, billions of different business models and so on. So that said, If you treat your life as an entrepreneur, even though you are at a day job, you can still treat your life as an entrepreneur because you give some effort and you get some pay back and some other perks, let's hope, like appreciation, experience. But from a financial standpoint, give some effort, give some time, and you get some money back. You do this no matter if you work at a day job or if you have some business. So the only difference is the levels of risk. But the levels of risk also greatly differ between businesses. There are businesses that are so low risk that they have lower risk than day jobs. Day jobs which have a higher risk, including for your safety, like being a firefighter or something. So day jobs are a very wide spectrum, and businesses and entrepreneurship are also a very wide spectrum. And in this sea of opportunities, how do you grow? Well, you grow by experimenting, you grow by doing, but you also grow by aiming high. Aiming higher is very important because when you have billions of opportunities, choosing the best ones is about aiming high. Because if you aim low, of course, you choose a bad opportunity because that's where the bottom layer is. It's opportunities which are got by people who aim low, because the majority of people aim low. Let's say they try to open something that has very low chances of success and zero chances of becoming super successful, like say a bakery. And so everyone who opens a bakery, they aim low. These people are great for society because society needs food and bakeries, but they are bad for themselves and their own development. And aiming high is a tricky thing because we are always kind of conditioned to aim lower. People around us are usually the people who do things on the same level as we do because that's how we met them. Let's say we work at a company with some colleagues and we're all on the same hierarchical level. When you try to aim higher and the people among you are not, there's this instinct that they have to bring you down back to their level. People don't like super ambitious people who just want to aim higher. The people who really enjoy you aiming higher are people that are higher than when you aim. When you start aiming higher than they already are, they will also stop supporting you. That's, of course, this is not set in stone. There are really nice people who will support you, whatever, and there will be really asshole people who try to drag you down, whatever. But that's how it works on a like systematic crowd psychology level. So aiming higher is tough because the world does not really support you when you aim higher. So what should you do? You should give yourself no choice, in the words of Alex Cormozzi. You cannot imagine what you can do when you give yourself no choice. And if your main motivator for growing financially is freedom, because may not be freedom, it may be that you want to earn a lot of money to, let's say, build schools in Africa or something, you can have real meaning connected to the money. But for most people, including me, who have more vague ways of helping the world or don't give a shit about this altogether, for them, which is fine, aiming high means more freedom, more money, and a better lifestyle. And you can try to earn more money and then have a better lifestyle, and this is the usual way of doing it. But the thing is that money itself is not a good motivator if it's specific sums of money. If you want to say, okay, I want to earn $30,000 because I really like this car and I would like to have it, and then the $30,000 become a box because it's a certain amount of money. And when you strive for this $30,000, you may miss a chance to earn $200,000 because you focus on the 30,000 as a box. Well, where you regard money as a flow, you don't have specific amounts of money. You're just trying to earn all the money you can earn without sacrificing anything of meaning and of value, while you taking care of yourself, sleeping enough, eating good food, socializing, doing everything that you need to be happy and productive. And then at what is left in your life after this, which is non-negotiable, is work. And in your work, you give it all. And when you give it all, you just aim high and try to regard your money and your returns as a flow. You just try to take everything that you can take. in your work environment. And in this case, while regarding money as a flow, you need something to drive you up, because like if you had a goal, if you had say I need $30,000 for the car, then you would strive to the 30,000. But if money is just a flow to you, there's no specific motivation, like the carrots and sticks disappear. So you need to form some motivation somehow. Otherwise you may just end doing nothing, with all of the benefits of the flows and not having goals in this way of life. Remember that you still need a direction, and if you have no direction, you're going nowhere. And having a direction with no goals is tricky. So remember that you still need a direction. But if you have low reserves of money and you lease the car and you have a monthly lease payment to do on the car for 30,000 total, then you know that you have to earn the money. You have no longer any choice. Of course, the car is not the best example because it's just the box, a thing. It's not something that should motivate you in your life. But let's say the car is a good experience, some education, some good mentorship. Let's say it's something that you know that will really help you. Or let's say it's just to be able to quit something in your life that's in your way. Let's say a shitty job that you still are doing partially from before you become an entrepreneur. Well, it's good to earn enough money to quit the job so you can focus on what's important, on learning by doing. And in all of those cases, having like no reserve of money is somehow beneficial to your mindset, because it really makes sure you're not in your comfort zone. Because you need to earn money for rent, and rent is coming in 15 days, and you need to sell, you need to close clients, you need to get prepayments, you need to do stuff. Like, even if you are afraid of selling, I can bet you're much more afraid of getting evicted and living on the streets. So you fucking sell your ass and just have the conviction out of need. You have the conviction to do things the right way. You have the conviction to fight your fears. You have the conviction to put yourself out there and do the best. And actually, not having a reserve of money can be dangerous, but only if you have nowhere to borrow from. And I'm not talking about payday loans and shit like this, but like borrowing on normal terms or just borrowing from a friend. If you have a credit card for backup, or you can borrow from friends, then in case of some emergencies like medical emergency or something, you have the means to collect some money to not let this severely disrupt your life cycle. But you don't need money that you cannot productively spend. If you can productively spend $1, you just spend it, even if it's the last dollar you have in your bank account. That's the mindset of successful entrepreneurs. If you have reserves, you prepare yourself for potential failure. If you don't have reserves, there's only one path forward: total success. And if everything you earn, you immediately reinvest, it becomes a state of being, a flow of earning money, reinvesting money, earning, spending meaningfully, which means that you earn money, you reinvest in your business, and the next money you earn, you invest into good food, you invest into a better mattress so you can sleep better, you invest in yourself constantly, invest in going to nature, invest in sports, invest in everything related to physical and mental health, and invest in your business, and leave no dollar behind, because every money you leave behind, lazy money, is of no use to you or anyone in society. One of the biggest problems in the economic state of today is that there's too much lazy money. Like Apple has more than $100 billion of cash. Who is this helping for? No one, not Apple. Money is like blood. If it's not flowing, it's useless. So in this case, spending what you are just about to earn is the best security that you will keep growing. It's the best motivation. And in this case, you will feel money as a flow, because they will not be accumulating to 30,000 or whatever you need for your next step. You're just spending as you're getting the money. And in this case, also another thing will get fixed. A lot of people have anxiety connected to large amounts of money. Let's say that you need to collect $20,000 to launch a project. Like $20,000 for most people is a lot, which means that you will have anxiety about this amount of money. But if I look at some of my projects back, I have invested millions into some projects in our company, and I didn't feel it because they were invested 5,000 today, 10,000 in another 3 days. What we earned, we invested, we got better, we got more competitive. And if when we started, I realized that I had to invest millions, the problem is I wouldn't have started and none of this would exist. None of this business, none of these revenues connected to the investment. So it's extremely important to not have lazy money around, and spending productively before you earn the money is the easiest way to not have lazy money around. In my life, the most clear example of this was the moment about 15 years ago when I suddenly switched from public transport in Sofia to taxis. Taxis in Bulgaria are cheap, and back then they were really, really cheap compared to most other developed countries, but still they are much more expensive than public transportation. And when I would almost never get a taxi unless it was late into the night, and even then I would walk if it was half an hour or less. And just doing public transportation and running around, and I switched into taxis like overnight. There were buses running around, and next day there were 3 taxis, and next day there were 4 taxis, and next day there were 5 taxis, and the next day there were 4 taxis, and my life suddenly became dependent on taxis. But this spared a lot of time and focus, because while I was chasing the bus or moving through the crowded subway, now I would be sitting in a taxi and getting work done. So more time to get shit done, more focus, because I didn't get distracted with how to organize my transportation. And taxis have a very big advantage over driving a car, that you can work in the taxi while you're not driving, and that you never have to worry about parking. You call the taxi anywhere, it leaves you anywhere, and you don't have to worry where to park it because the car is not yours. So taxis are great, really great for people who are starting to be entrepreneurs, and in countries where they're not so expensive, I highly recommend taxis. It's a great signal to send to yourself that your time is valuable, and that it's worth more than you currently earn. It was a great signal in my period of steepest growth in my business. I gave myself the great signal with the taxes, and it paid off, even though technically I couldn't afford it at the moment that it started. Yeah.